Hello and welcome everyone today to Papa Hector's Spiritual Podcast. Today's topic is 7 rules for working with a spiritual worker and mentor effectively. So, first of all, welcome. And before we get into that, let me remind you to go ahead and subscribe. You can catch this podcast, Papa Hector Salva, at iTunes, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Anchor.fm, Stitcher, and Spotify. Also, check me out on YouTube, where you can subscribe and like our videos. Papa Hungan Hector Salva. I'm on Instagram, Hungan Hector. I'm on Facebook, Hungan Hector. And like our Facebook page. And lastly, make sure you check out the blog at hectorsalva.com. Before we get into today's episode, we have the Anaisa Bie ceremony coming up in a few days here. We're towards the end of July. First of all, actually today is the day of Ogu Balenjo. So, felicidades, congratulations to all the servants of Ogu Balenjo. Thank you, God and the mysteries, for giving us Ogu Balenjo. We'll be having our ceremony for Anaisa Bie here on the 27th, 2019, July 27th, 2019, and where we'll also be honoring Ogu Balenjo in Santa Marta. And we have information on that on Facebook as well as the website. So, getting into the information for today, which is 7 rules for working with a spiritual worker and mentor effectively. What I'm going to describe here is about the proper way to approach as well as to work with any type of spiritual worker, spiritual priest, no matter what tradition really that they come from. I think we can all agree upon these rules here is the proper way. Now, for those of us in Sanse, 21 Divisions, Espiritismo, there are certain givens that happen when you grow up in these cultures. By saying givens, I mean that these things are just so present, so ingrained in the culture, that everyone in the culture already knows them. But sometimes they're not necessarily givens or common to everyone else. And that's really about what a lot of this episode is going to contain. We're going to let you know some really important points about how this type of spiritual work works, because I want to see you have success, ultimately achieving what you want to achieve. So, if you've grown up outside the culture, you might not actually know these. And the truth is, these days, very few people are growing up within our cultures, and very few people have grown up deeply enough within our cultures. It's highly likely that you may not know some of these. So first and foremost, on our spiritual traditions, you need a spiritual teacher, a spiritual mentor, a spiritual guide. These are not DIYs. You cannot do this yourself. No one in our cultures or from our backgrounds would do that. In fact, I was just speaking to someone about this point not that long ago. How many people will practice magic or various forms of spirituality without a mentor, a teacher, or a guide, or try to work within the Afro-Caribbean traditions, or ATRs, ADRs, ACRs, whatever it is that you want to call them, Sanse, 21 Divisions, Vodun, etc., okay, without a mentor or guide, but never would you see anyone originally from these cultures doing so. Even if they might have the knowledge of how to do a particular spiritual work, a spell work, or magic, or a healing, no one would do that. The reason no one would do that is that even people who are not necessarily deeply involved, they know that the risk and the responsibility that happens when you do things such as spiritually cleansing people, removing entities, removing spirits, when you're even things of getting initiated. In our cultures, actually, it's very rare that people run necessarily towards initiation. I'm not saying that's 100% right, but I am saying that in our cultures, most people, okay, really get initiated because they really need to, because that's what's their calling. And not only that, they receive certain levels of initiation in order to improve their lives, but they're not trying to do certain types of work that's reserved for a spiritual worker. Okay? So you absolutely need a spiritual guide, a spiritual teacher. It's essential. No one DIYs this in our own cultures where people have grown up around these things. 2, this is not a rule here, but once you have that, this is actually one of the rules. Once you have that, that person is your priest. That person is your spiritual worker, your mentor. It's the only person you go to spiritually. If you need to go elsewhere, you have to get permission from that person. This is very important to understand. Once you've started working with your mentor, your priest, your teacher, that's who you go to spiritually. You're not going all willy-nilly here and there. Okay? You're not just, running around from person to person to person. You go there. If you need to go somewhere else, you ask permission. But really, there shouldn't be that need if you're following things properly and things are being done for you properly, so on and so forth. Okay? Because that person is the one that's guiding you down this path. And you need to have that relationship of trust, but also a relationship that is that of the spirit. And you can't be following many, many people. Okay? You have your priest, your brujo, your papaboko, your ungan, your this, your that, your person. Okay? So, the second rule is honor and respect. So, honor and respect is action, not word. It's not something you can say without acting upon it. If you're acting against honor and respect, then you're not being honorable or respectful. Okay? Honor and respect means you honor the hierarchy, how things run. Okay? Honor and respect means you do things properly. It means you do things properly with the spirits and with your teachers. You do things properly. If you don't know something, then you don't do it. If you haven't been given permission to do something, you don't go ahead and do it. Okay? Honor and respect means that most of what is in these rules is a breakdown of some form of honor or respect that's common within the cultures. Like I just said about the first thing, about you have your person that you go to spiritually to help you spiritually, and that's the person that you deal with. Okay? The third rule is that you pay your way. Meaning, if you don't have a priest, but you need help, you get a consultation. That's how things are done properly in this tradition. If you have a priest and you need help, you get your consultation. Okay? Actually, it's no different. Either way, the first step is always having your consultation with the spirits, having a consultation. So when you're approaching a priest, it's very much like approaching a doctor. Okay? You may have your doctor, but every time you go into your doctor, you have your consultation. And that's the first step. Okay? It's with the consultation that everything else follows from that. You don't nitpick and bargain with a priest on pricing. Okay? That's well known within this culture. You don't nitpick and bargain back and forth with a priest on pricing. Well known within this culture is you don't ask for something for free, especially from people you don't know. But even from people that you do know, you pay your way. Our ancestors paid their ways. Our ancestors paid each step of their way. And sometimes this is money. Sometimes this is other things. In modern culture, a lot of times it's money. Because this is the day and time that we live in. Okay? It ain't like the old days in certain ways. But you always pay your way because that's the way that you honor and respect your own head and the spirits of where you're getting the assistance from. You can't say you honor and respect the spirits and then not be willing to pay your way. Because another thing in our traditions is that a priest is not required to divulge anything, any teachings, to share information with you, so on and so on and so forth. I recently had someone who had gone through all my websites, I have many websites out there, and read all the tons of free information, and then was rude about not receiving more. Even that which is on my websites is not owed. I do that as a service to the world, to the community. Many people have started their path because of Ezilikone and my other sites, and many people have learned about their own traditions because of that. And I get thank yous and thank you notes and beautiful letters and even gifts and donations to keep the site going all the time. And it's a beautiful thing because many people support that work, and it's a beautiful work, and they know that this is not necessarily something that's owed. The next rule is that you follow the guidance. So basically, you don't waste the priest's time. You follow the guidance and you don't waste the priest's time. You don't go doing other things. You don't go against the guidance. If you're not going to follow through on guidance and on what you're being taught, so on and so forth, then don't waste your time. Don't waste our time. We're not interested. Okay? Doing this work expends great amounts of energy. Okay? It expends great amounts of force, and we don't like to waste our time. So You follow through on the guidance. You don't go receive guidance on how to deal with things, how to deal with situations, how to resolve, etc., and then go do the opposite. You don't receive guidance from the spirits, teachings, and then go do the opposite. Okay? Because you're wasting time. Our time, your time, the spirit's time. This goes back to if you're honoring and respecting, then that shows through in your word, your deed, your action. It's not just something that you say, it's something that you are. Okay? Next, you're honest. You're straightforward and you're honest. You can't expect to get the ultimate best help from your doctor if you're not honest. You can get the best of what you can get from your spiritual doctor, the doctor of your spirit, your mentor, your teacher, your guide, your spiritual worker, if you're not 100% honest. And you can't say you're an honorable or respectful person to the spirits if you're not honest. I mean, this is some basic stuff. Okay? I've heard more sins than the Catholic priest. And by the way, I don't believe in sin. So therefore, no judgment. I've heard anything and everything under the sun and then some. Things that people can't even imagine. Okay? But that honesty allows us to always be on the same page, be working towards the same goals, getting you the results, getting you what you want and what you need. So, be clear. The next rule to working with a spiritual worker and mentor properly is to do what you can do. This will sound like a simple one. It sounds like it would make sense. But sometimes, if it made sense, more people would do it. That's what I can say. That's how I can put it best. You do what you can do. You do what you can do positively. You do what you can do to contribute. You do what you can do to help out, to help the priest, to help your spiritual worker, to help your mentor. You do whatever it is that you can do to relieve some of the load so that they can focus their time and attention to do the larger part of the work that they are the ones who specialize in. That only the spiritual worker can do. So you lighten the load wherever possible. You do what you can do as much as you can do to contribute, to give back. That means in your situation, in your own whatever you're receiving help with. That's getting a job. You're going out there and getting them resumes. You're hitting the streets. You're sending out what you need to send out, so on and so forth. Or that's within helping the priest or in life. You do what you can do to positively contribute. Okay? That frees up the priest, the spiritual worker's time, and their energy to go towards helping you and helping you get what you want and what you need and resolving for you. The next rule, this is a big one in our culture, okay, is that you show appreciation for what has been done for you. You show your appreciation for what has been done for you. So, as I just said, doing what you can do is a bit of a way that you show your appreciation. But you also show your appreciation to the spiritual worker and to the spirits. Okay? Without the spiritual worker, without your spiritual guide and mentor, you're not going to get where you want to get. Without their gifts, without them having developed it and worked and built it up, you're not going to receive the totality of what you can receive. So you need to show appreciation for what has been done for you and not forget what has been done for you. Many times people forget what has been done. But you won't be where you are if you hadn't gotten what you had gotten. So when things are done for you, you show your appreciation. In our culture, it's very common to give your spiritual worker, your spiritual mentor gifts to show your appreciation, to lighten the load, to do whatever work you can do in order to lighten the load, to bring gifts, to bring contributions, to bring gifts for the spirits. Okay, because these are ways that you may be able to show your appreciation. There's many things that your spiritual worker, your spiritual mentor can and will do for you that there's no potential way that you can ever really repay it. There's no real way that you can give back. There's no real way that you can give back, really. There's just no way else for me to say it. Because what they can provide to you is so invaluable. Doesn't have a certain number amount. So by constantly showing regular appreciation, and appreciation to the spirits and God, who is what does everything, but not forgetting that without the spiritual worker, without that connection point, okay, even that is limited. Yes, you heard it right. The spiritual worker, okay, without that, even that is limited. Okay? And it still exists without limits and can do amazing, incredible reaches. But the particular role that spiritual worker, guide, mentor has, okay, what they can do for you and what they actually do provide for you can't be measured in things. So showing appreciation, giving back to God, the spirits, and the channel through which they're working, the spiritual worker. So the thing to remember with all of this is that we don't set the codes. We just follow them. It's spirit that sets the codes. And it's spirit that creates issues when the codes are broken. When the codes are broken, it's spirits themselves, los misterios themselves, the spirit, that resolve to put things back into balance, as they are known to do. So we don't set the codes, we merely follow them as spiritual workers. And by you following the codes as well, you'll find greater effectiveness and success in your life, your spiritual growth, and your path. So that's all for now, and keep the faith. God bless all of you. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast at iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and Anchor.fm. Check us out on YouTube, IG, Facebook, Hungan Hector, look me up, and check me out on HectorSalva.com. Many blessings to all of you. Keep the faith, and God bless.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.